JSA issue 9, Jeff Lemire writing with DIEGO OLORTEGUI on the art. So, this has been a pretty disappointing book for the most part throughout its run. And while I do think the last couple issues were a little better, it's still not quite really anything close to what I wanted it to be. And this issue, I think this issue hurts a little bit, Matt, because not because it's even that bad, right? It's I think it's better than most of the first like 5 or 6 issues. However, the problem is that this issue has payoffs to things that were all set up in those first 5 or 6 issues, and I still don't really care. And that's the problem. I feel kind of sad because none of this stuff is landing, and that's where I'm feeling sad here.
There's still so many balls in the air, and this is issue 9. Like, I don't feel like we're getting close to any kind of resolution. You know? Like, I don't even know where the story's going. I know they're the Injustice Gang, Injustice Society, whatever we're calling them, wants the Spear of Destiny, and they're doing that on multiple fronts and stuff. But again, to what end? What's the here? And there's so many characters to try to keep track of. And then, like you said, we're getting payoffs to stuff that had happened 6 issues ago that I kind of forgot about because there's so many other things going on. So it's just like, and again, it's not bad. I don't dislike anything that I read. It's just, I find it hard to care.
It's just underwhelming. I just don't feel like it's the complete opposite of Birds of Prey right now, where everything in Birds of Prey feels like a great payoff to stuff that was set up arcs ago. Or it's bringing things in and making stuff feel important again. With this, though, there was so much juggling, and even though this idea of like, okay, Sorrow has been impersonating Obsidian and the team don't know about it, and this issue literally has the big reveal at the end where Dr. Midnight, who's dragging the real Obsidian through the snow, whilst Obsidian in his head is actually trapped in the 5th dimension with who's he trapped with again?
He has the Thunderbolts.
Yes, right? Jakeem. That's what I was like.
Johnny and Jakeem.
Well, no, Johnny's new in this issue. We didn't know that before.
Right. Gotcha.
Just to be clear,
that's who he's been in there with.
The point I'm making though is that like that he's been trapped at. We thought it was just in his head. This issue reveals it's actually the 5th dimension, but he's been trapped with Jakeem. You know, for several issues at this point. We found out about that maybe in like issue 3 or 4 of the book or something to that effect. I can't really remember at this point, but like that's been going on along with the real Obsidian's body being with Dr. Midnight, and of course the fake Obsidian's actually Johnny Sorrow with the JSA. And this issue finally has the big reveal where Dr. Midnight's able to send a call to the others and say, hey, the Obsidian with you is a fake, blah 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 blah. And it feels like that should be a big deal. It feels like it should be a big deal that we finally had these characters discover that they've been with an imposter this whole time. And I think part of the problem with it is that for this reveal to feel like it matters, I think we should have spent way more time with the fake Obsidian, like with the team, like manipulating them and like pushing them to do things, and maybe even like having like him still having to fake who he is when they're having like an emotional conversation with him or something, so that it feels truly kind of like violating that he's not really been him for the last like month or whatever it's been for these characters. I think that would make this feel like a bigger deal would have finally realized. But all we've ever really seen like fake Obsidian be is just like kind of like angsty and just complaining a lot. Like he's always argumentative. It would actually be far more hurtful, I think, if he'd been doing a good job of pretending to be like a decent brother and a decent member of the team throughout this time, but slyly manipulating them to do other things. I don't know.
Yeah. Johnny Sorrow is an actual demon, right? But all he does is make Obsidian seem more emo than he is. Yeah, and he's not doing any of the stuff that we would think of a demon doing, where it's like sowing distrust between the members, right? That's what we should have seen, is him like making them not trust each other, and you know, be like, I don't know, Jade, you're getting a little bit too close to sand. What's his game? And, you know,
to your point about like just making him seem more emo, it's like in this issue he literally comes storming in because Jade's having a conversation with her dad, Alan Scott. And he's saying, no, you've been a great leader, Jade. You've done the best you could. It was impossible circumstance. And he's been all nice with his daughter. And Obsidian comes in and is like, Not even talking about how good I've been doing, I see. I'm just a loser to you, Dad. I'm like, this just isn't, like, I'm just not excited by this. Come on.
The person that has that enjoys a dark sense of humor that lives within me, right? I just would have loved Alan Scott to be like, yeah, no, you are a disappointment, Todd. Like, you wear this thing, you wield your mother's powers of darkness. You think you're the leader, but you gotten us lost. And just let him have it, not realizing it, that he's letting it go on Johnny Sorrow. So, yeah, but that would be interesting. And we're not, the JSA book is anything but at this point. I just feel like we're just going through some of these motions of assembling, the Sphere of Destiny. So,
do you know what's so sad about this?
Ultimately, yeah.
What's so sad about this is that one of the reasons why I thought LEMIRE was a great pick for a JSA book was because of Black Hammer. Black Hammer is this team book of these old heroes who've kind of like fallen by the wayside, and it's so well done, and all the characters feel fully fleshed out, and you really care. There's a great atmosphere and sort of sense of sorrow to everything. And here, it just, like you say, it's just going through the motions. It feels like he's got like 50 characters that he wants to play with, and they're all just kind of in these roles, and I just don't feel anything for anything that's going on. So, very strange. Anywho, so basically Obsidian, fake Obsidian, that is, Johnny Sorrow, when he's talking to Alan Scott and that, he's like, hey, we took out those Cobra agents, they mentioned Hawkman's secret museum, we have to find that, Dad, do you know where it is? And he's like, yeah, I know where it is, he's only told me and Jay, but it's on Black Hawk Island, blah blah blah. And obviously, because it's actually Johnny Sorrow, this is all being broadcast to the bad guys, and they're like, "Oh, there we go. We're going to go right there, right now, and get the Spear of Destiny. It's time." So,
and I get it. Alan's talking to his kids, who he thinks he can trust, and stuff. But the idea of Hawkman having a secret museum, which is like, just lock that stuff up in the Hall of Justice or the JSA Brownstone, somewhere really secure. You know what I mean? Just the idea of Hawkman having this secret museum that the JSA could just go visit and be like, oh, look at all this dangerous stuff. It's just out. I
mean, you say that.
It's just very silly.
Well, yeah, but you say that, but no one knows it's there, so it's actually been more secure than like how many times has the JSA headquarters been attacked?
True. I just have umbrage with the idea of Hawkman's secret museum.
I mean, it's
like, all right, I get it.
It's the least of my issues with the book.
I know, but it's just a silly thing that I don't know. I already wasn't enjoying it, and then I didn't even know about Quisp, who's this fifth dimensional imp, who's apparently been around forever. Were you aware of this character?
I was not, but obviously when they're in the so it's in the maze, and it's Jakeem and Obsidian, and they find Johnny Thunder. And for some reason, they can summon the Thunderbolt together. I don't even know why that necessarily works here. However, these names come up of Quisp, and then there's the other one, right? And then they also say Thunderbolt's original real name, which is like Zix.
Ease.
Yeah. Whatever.
Ease.
As they were saying all these, I'm like, these all sound like Mixie-Pitalik style names. These are all so when they said it's the fifth dimension, I was like, okay, all right, that actually makes some sense. This feels fine enough. Like I have no problem with that reveal in and of itself.
Oh yeah, I just never knew about this character, so I just felt like it came out of like so I looked up Quisp, and it's not like it's a JSA villain from the day. It's Quisp is a fifth dimensional imp that gives Aquaman trouble, so he's like Aquaman's Mixie. So it's just weird to have him pop up here, and again, fifth dimension and all of that. But yeah, again, I that was I think the strongest part of the issue for me was the stuff with Johnny and Jakeem and Obsidian getting through the fifth dimension in that maze, and just the way that Orlotegi draws the borders around there as like a labyrinth. I think that looks really cool. Gives it this sense like you're kind of wandering. And then the rest of the book just kind of happens. But yeah, I like that part a whole lot.
Yeah, there's also a 2-page scene that I forgot about until now because I'm looking through it as we talk, and that is a scene where Yolanda's at a bar just getting drunk because she's depressed about Wildcat's death, and Khalid comes in and like demands that she like get back into the fight. Like Wildcat would want us to keep fighting, blah 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 blah. And they're just kind of angry the whole scene, and I get why they are, but like honestly, we've seen very little out of them in this run to like give them more depth. That it just kind of feels a little bit hollow to me right now. Plus, he gets ID'd when he walks into the bar, and he's like, "Dude, I'm 21 and I'm a doctor," and I'm like, "Yeah, 21's the drinking age in America, so 21's exactly the age where you should expect to be ID'd because you're right on the brink of maybe you are, maybe you aren't." So you being a doctor is irrelevant to the situation, Khalid.
Yeah, Doogie Howser was still 16. Doesn't matter what his medical degree says. He can't go to a bar. You know?
No.
So
when I was asked ID once when I was already bald with a beard, I'm like, seriously, dude, like, look at me. like I look like I owe 2 mortgages. What are you talking about?
So my wife's favorite thing to be ID'd when we go to a bar. And then, out here in Vegas, it's just part of the process. They ID everybody. It doesn't matter. But, they think I'm young. And I go, yeah, it's because you look young, honey. And just let that go. Because that's not a fight that I want to have. No, I get ID'd. It's the same reaction as you. I was like, come on, man. I have white in my beard. All right. And I look like I've seen some things.
Hey, next time, Matt, you should pull the like when she gets ID and she's all happy about it, say, "Oh no, I'm sure they're just IDing you to see if you qualify for the senior discount." See how that goes.
The AARP, the AARP.
The over 60s get half price booze. They're just checking to see if you're in that range.
Pete, I like living, so I'm just not gonna do that. The scene with them, though, I do appreciate it because these two have been through it, right? She loses her mentor. He's lost the helm of Naboo, and that's the whole reason that the bad guys are able to do all the bad stuff that they're doing. So I do like that Lemire's taking time to kind of let us know, but it's almost like half in, half out. He doesn't fully commit. So like you said, it's just the 2 pages, and it's just like they're just angry. I feel like there's no other thing to it, but I do appreciate the effort here.
Yeah, final scene, of course, is the big fight because Dr. Midnight's in the snow and Scandal Savage shows up to fight her. And it's her communicator that she ends up grabbing after she's knocked her out to communicate with the JSA. And that's the big cliffhanger is Johnny Sorrow just throwing away the illusion and being like, "Yeah, it's me, bitches. Here I am."
I like the it looks like he's bowing.
Yeah.
I do like that. He still has such a cool look, man. I feel like we didn't see him enough because he was masquerading as Obsidian. So, red suit, theater mask.
Yeah, the floating mask is a great look. He's always had a great creepy look to him. I've always been into that.
If we talk about one of the first trades I ever bought, well, it wasn't a trade. It was the GLA JSA Virtue and Vice, where he's the main villain. I had no idea who Johnny Sorrow was, but it was written by Johns and Goyer. I forget who did the art, but essentially the 7 Deadly Sins get out, and the JLA and JSA have to team up and put it back in. But that was the first time I'd ever seen Johnny Sorrow, and I was like, this guy's cool. And then he's been kind of far and few between. So having him here, it's cool. Like, I love this last image with Alan Scott and Jade, and him kind of in that taking a bow pose. Yeah. He's like, hey, we got you now. Like, there's just this swagger to him.
Yeah. Having said that, I don't love Olortegui's art. Much. I don't think it's bad per se. I think the layouts are fine enough, and you do get a sense of the emotions and all the characters and all that. But there's definitely just a little bit of that Romita Jr.-esque quality to some of the line work and kind of the scratches. Like he loves to do the lines across the nose for whatever reason. Like almost every page, like if you get like a panel looking at a character like anywhere close up, you'll get like 4 or 5 lines going across the nose for some reason, and I don't know why. And it's not the only issue here, but it's kind of indicative of what's going on overall.
I didn't notice it until you just pointed it out. Now I can't unsee it. It's one of those things. But yeah, John Romita Jr. and who else? The Flash guy. Why am I drawing Howard Porter? Have some similarities there. The blockiness.
Yeah.
But I feel like it kind of matches the JSA, so I don't mind it as much. But now that I'm going to look at every close-up with the lines on the nose...
Yeah, unless they have a mask.
That might...
The mask characters get away without it, but all the characters who don't have a mask on, they get the lines on the nose.
God, I can't see it. Thanks, Pete.
You're welcome.
I didn't worry about it now. Now, anytime I see Orlategui's art, I'm going to be checking for the lines on the nose.
Yeah. I honestly, as I was reading this issue, I was kind of thinking, do I just drop it? And I don't think I will, just now. But it's the sort of thing where, if, like, a couple more books start on this week that JSA is coming out, it probably would be, you know, if it hasn't improved, it would definitely be kind of on that teetering chopping block line, which is a shame because I love the JSA, and you know, this run sadly has been a little bit of a. Just a little bit of a dud. Like, not the worst thing ever, but just completely uninspiring in every way.
Yeah, when you're starting something great and you get something mediocre, it almost hurts worse than if it was bad. You know? So that's kind of where I am. Where it's like, yeah, I did like the last couple issues, though. The Wildcat's funeral one I thought was pretty good. The last issue I didn't mind. This was back to me not enjoying it as much. And it started to be put in that obligation read. I was like, yeah, I'm going to read JSA, but I'm not going to be happy about it. So I would like LEMIRE to change my mind.
All right, what are you giving JSA, Matt?
I'm giving this a straight 6.
Yeah, 6 out of 10. That sounds about right. Like, it's not terrible. It's just underwhelming. I'm underwhelmed.